Welcome. This is the first episode of Ball Without Borders podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Pops.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with my son. We just want to have fun. That's the bottom line here, right? This should be a podcast or just two people, a dad and a son, two best buds that really love talking about baseball, and baseball, not just MLB, but just baseball around the world. And that's really what got us here, right? A lot of our talk is going to be about the World Baseball Classic, because that's really one thing that really makes us excited, and I'm really looking forward to what 2026 is going to bring.
For sure.
So,
And honestly, I was looking, and there wasn't that much content. We're less than a year away from the tournament. It's basically this is our Olympics. We don't have Olympics. This is our World Cup. It's a big tournament, and honestly, I wasn't seeing a lot of coverage on it. So I hope we can bring a new style of coverage to the WBC. I hope we can inform you guys and try to get more people involved with the game of baseball, because I think overall the WBC is a great way for the game of baseball itself to grow, and I think you saw that in last year's tournament. I think last year's tournament took a big jump from whichever games it was. You had Japan games getting watched from 60 million views from all Japan. You had the final, Japan versus USA. For the final out, you had Shohei Ohtani on the mound.
Oh my goodness.
Mike Trout hitting. Teammates at the time.
It sucked that it wasn't us there, but
you cannot write it.
No, but it couldn't write any better. No, honestly, that was so cool. That's, for instance, when the WBC started. So one of the reasons why the WBC started is because the baseball in the Olympics, the history there has always been wishy-washy, right? So they had baseball in the Olympics for a while, and then they went ahead and did away with it, right? Mm-hmm. And part of the reason is because baseball has had a regional feel. Yes, baseball is big in the Americas. Baseball is obviously big in the United States. Baseball is big in the Caribbean, and in some, Central American and some South American countries. But truly, baseball is not important anywhere else, right? Or it has been. It hasn't been, right? Mm. So the Olympics in the past has always been a big platform for sports, right? And that's what's grown the sport, particularly in sports in areas other than the United States. And that's something that we'll discuss later. But people are so immersed when, for instance, the Olympics come around.
Yeah.
Everywhere else in the world, people get so immersed. It's such a big thing, for countries. Just a proud thing. Whereas here in the United States, people are just used to, we're gonna win, and they get disappointed if they don't win, right? They celebrate the gold medalists, but the silver medalists and bronze medalists are whatever, okay, whatever. They're used to a different story. But what baseball, because he has had in the past just such a regional feel, when it came to the Olympics, it took a back seat, right? And it was included, actually officially, it was the first time included in the Los Angeles Olympics back in 1996, I think it was. But it then fell off, right? And that's why the WBC came around. They wanted to...
Started in 06, right?
Exactly. It started in 06. They wanted to re-engage, the rest of the world, making sure that they wanted to grow the sport, outside of the United States, or the Americas. And certainly I forgot to mention Japan, right? Japan, it's humongous there.
I think for people like that, that's the Euro League of the baseball, right? So you have the MLB, which obviously is the top league, but I think Japan's league is. There's a big gap, but it's by far the second best league in the world, Japan League. So even you're gonna see a lot of these players, players from the teams come from Japan, and you're just gonna kind of write them off because they're not in the MLB. But there's good baseball being played in Japan. If you look at the Dodgers, basically every year they took two players from they signed them to $300 million contracts. So it's not you got the pitcher from the Cubs, Shota. I forget his name, but he's a lefty. He's killing it over there. You got a bunch of these players the guy from the Red Sox, Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah.
Or no, that's the one from the Cubs, but there's another guy from the Red Sox that got signed as well. There's a bunch of these guys coming over from the Japan League that are killing it, and they're getting signed for big money. It's not like they're getting signed for the minimum. So I think Japan brings a interesting aspect to this tournament where a lot of players come from that league.
Yeah.
And people don't really know about them in the U.S. And they start to go off, and they kind of... Which also another good thing about the WBC is that players can make a name for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think it's a great... Like, I think that's why a lot of the smaller countries are so... Like, I forget who was it, but in Nicaragua, there was a pitcher.
Oh, yeah.
They got a major league deal from his performance at WBC. And so this shows you how much these small countries view this tournament, and how this could be not only that they want to win for their country, but also that they want to get a contract for the MLB to set their family, get their generational wealth going. And it's just a beautiful tournament to watch. I mean, and there's always one team that you don't know who's gonna that's gonna sneak up, and we just hope to bring good content to the not just WBC but baseball internationally, because I think baseball is a beautiful game. And I think that there's been growth in the recent past years, but there's been kind of a lull of the growth of baseball.
Yeah, no, and going back to what you were saying, Japan is certainly the second best league in the whole wide world, right? But particularly in Asia, right? Korea, Chinese Taipei, in other areas, baseball it has a great presence. It truly does, right? And you can see, for instance, when COVID hit, right? Weren't we watching a whole bunch of Korean baseball, right?
We were.
And it's a different type of baseball. It's not the same level as MLB, but it's not only played with a lot of passion, but also played with a lot of support, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of support behind it. But the fact is that baseball has not had a global presence like basketball has developed, for instance. Soccer certainly is number one sport in the whole wide world, or football, if you want to call it that, But American football is trying to do the same thing that MLB, is doing. It's trying to reach out, and grow the sport elsewhere.
I mean, you see the Eagles, one of the tackles, Jordan Mailata, he's some of the tackle, but he was a former rugby player.
Yeah.
From Australia.
Oh yeah, correct.
Yeah, and
correct.
he just got signed for big money, but he's a great player for the Eagles. So it's like every major sport in the U.S. is trying to go global, and it's a great plan, and we're just hoping the baseball can follow suit. So first thing I want to talk about is what are your memories, like your most significant memories about the WBC, and some significance on those stories.
Yeah, no, I'd say, the WBC started in 2006, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2006 and 2009, it was mostly based outside of the United States, right? Actually, the finals were held in Japan. So it was for those two iterations, it was what was classified the 16 best teams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it was basically it was very subjective, right? It was who historically had the best teams, in the sport. And certainly, again, because the reach of baseball had not been that wide, right? It was what it was, right? It is what it is. So teams like Cuba, Japan, Puerto Rico, United States, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Panama, those were teams that were shoo-ins, and that's for those two iterations. It was just those 16 teams,
and there was not really that much MLB presence in those two.
Yeah, not really that much presence, but for instance, Daisuke Matsusaka was the big champion, of both. Japan teams that won the WBC, because the Japan won both WBCs, and for instance, that opened the door for Daisuke Matsusaka to actually come to the United States and become the pitcher that he ended up being, right? So it opened up eyes. But the fact of the matter is that in as much as it would have been big in Japan, and it always was, right? When it came to the Japan's presence, the Japan's games, Japanese the games where Japan played were really well attended,
Yeah.
right? And they made it the way to, and they won both of those,
And especially those first iterations, like there was a lot more MLB presence in the Asian teams, the Caribbean teams.
Correct.
But the U.S., I mean, there was barely any, maybe 2 or 3 guys that played in the MLB, if anything. And so there was, and like those games that were played in the U.S., not a lot of people went to. Like, I mean, everything has to start somewhere. Obviously, could have done it better, whatever. But and I still think to this day, Team USA. I mean, every year I think they're starting to, get more and more players involved. But I just think that the more MLB players I play, the better for the tournament. I say.
Oh, for sure. That made a difference because then what happened? So, for instance, in those first iterations, Cuba at that time. So Cuba and Japan were the ones that got to the finals by and large, right? Cuba at that time it was a world power because that the mass exodus of players had not happened, and they were a machine, in terms of turning, and producing baseball players, right? And they've always been. I mean, I don't want to get political in here, but the Cuban government has always spent a lot of money into sports because they felt that raising Cuba's profile through sports, would ensure that Cuba as a country will be seen as a bigger entity across the world, right? But baseball was and is their number one game. So Cuba at that time was very powerful. They had tremendous games, but tremendous teams.
Tables turn.
We're
going to talk about that later, but
but
now it definitely times has changed.
So once again, 2006, 2009, were really cool. And that was the start. But I have to admit, I mean, you weren't even born. You were born in 2005. Or you were very young when that happened, so you don't remember. But I honestly did not pay that much attention to those 2 iterations. I'll be honest. But when the 2013 one came around,
that was the first one.
Bro, that was the first one. So you were a little young,
I don't remember too much
still,
about that,
but that's. But what was the big difference? What was the big difference? The final was here in the United States, and that, talk about raising the profile, because now you're getting a whole United States, like, okay, interested in what's going on. That was the first one too, where a lot of MLBers actually came to play. They decided to play. They were part of the teams. Maybe not necessarily United States, that much.
Still,
they actually they
that 2013 team for Puerto Rico fue Carlos Beltrán, Pagan, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
¿Quién más? Who else was on the team?
I mean, they had Javi Baez played. They had
2013.
Yeah, I think so. I think and I think Yadier Molina played too.
Molina.
They had a team. And actually, as a matter of fact,
DR también estaba duro.
Oh, bro, DR. So that's what happened. So actually, Puerto Rico went 7-0 in that tournament, and they got to the final. They even beat United States on the way.
2017.
I mean, sorry, you're right. So 2017, which let's go. Okay, but 2013, it was, the final was United States. Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, right? And that changed everything.
Yep.
That changed everything. Honestly. So so the final was at AT&T Park. There were 35,000 plus, in that game, watching Puerto Rico versus Dominican Republic, which, again, San Francisco is not close, right?
No, I mean, that's not really a hub for...
That's not a hub for Puerto Ricans, not a hub for Dominican Republic, and so you have 35,000 plus people watching that game live. Never mind how many people were watching in the United States. In Dominican Republic, there were 50,000 people plus at the Estadio Quisqueya, where they had a simulcast of the game, watching the game.
Watch party.
Watch party. And in Puerto Rico, 75% of TVs were turned to that final. I mean, that changed. I mean, it was a turning point for the WBC. not just globally, but also in terms of the United States. What it represented. And the audience. And it was so cool. Unfortunately, we lost. In that game, but it was. Dominican Republic won. It was the Plátano Power. The Plátano Power tournament. They beat us in a great game. I think it was a 3-2 game, something like that. But it was a fantastic game, and it really set up the stage for what was to come. Yep. That was the 2013 tournament. Is what really
that
turned.
was the first one.
That's what turned.
Yeah.
And then the 2017.
Speaking of that, let's go into the S1 team. Rubio started. I think that's one of the big points, major points of like an example of the Warriors Classic significance. That 2017 team, when they started dyeing their hair blonde, Team Rubio, todo el mundo que tenía an ounce of Puerto Rican in them, they started dyeing their hair blonde. Yeah. I mean, that started a movement, and we got to the final. Obviously, we didn't finish the job again, but that was the first. I remember that Team USA had Adam Jones in his prime. It had
that team was stacked.
Arenado, Marcus Stroman is with us now, but Marcus Stroman.
He's the one that beat us in the final.
Yeah,
dang it.
Yelich, Stanton. I mean, it was the first time where like Team USA had real major leaguers playing, and I mean that was the first one that and I think that it really turned up. It really turned it up to another new level. And but yeah, another thing like about the WBC, like obviously we were fortunate to go to 2 games. The last iteration, 2023 in Miami, and it's like from pitch one, it's like a playoff game.
Oh yeah.
From pitch one, I mean you hear people like if they throw a strike, they're
yeah.
It's like the atmosphere is like.
But going back to 2017, I mean, I think that 2017 tournament. Personally, I mean, I love the 2013 one. With the 2017, if the 2013 tournament was a game changer for the WBC as a whole, right, for the world, the 2017 was a game changer for us as a family, personally. Like, sure. What really cemented our love for the WBC, right? And if you go back, right, they were the going back to what you're saying, the environment, right? The how people were up for those games and how the teams themselves were up for those games changed.
Sure that
listen, if you look at the highlight reel. Just the Puerto Rico team highlights reel over that tournament, you'd be like, wow. I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. The baseball that we watched over there and the things, I had never seen stuff like that before. I had never seen stuff like that since. And it's because they were rooting for the country, right? And it made us such a difference. I would never forget. And I know that a lot of people watching that have watched WBC have seen this highlight reel many times. When Yadier Molina throws to second and Javi catches the ball and he's pointing at him without even looking at the runner and going like, placing the tag because he knew before anything happened that was an out. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, that was, to this day, come on, man. Come on. I mean, that is a fantastic play. Okay. When have you seen that? You've never seen that in MLB. No. I've never seen that since.
It's different. It's different.
And I'm telling you, I mean, Javi sliding into third. And they call him the Mago, swimming, to avoid a tag. And then he got called out and he said, no. Check the replay. And he got called safe. Come on. The other one where Yadier Molina, I think it was Jurgen Profar, hit a single, and now there were runners on the corners.
Semi-final.
It was against Netherlands. It was the Netherlands. Jurgen Profar is like going like this, yeah, and Yadier Molina is like looking at him, and he just gets the ball and just boom, gets him out of first. Come on, and how he reacted. Yeah, he owes a mother. Yeah, but I love it. Yadi, I love you, bro. I love you. No. You're not actually. There's some people that are uglier than you. We'll talk about that later. But I love you. He said it, not me. He said not me.
But yeah, but that I mean, that solidified. And I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because also one thing that hindered the WBC really bad, like hindered the rest of the world, COVID. I mean, we had to wait 6 years for the next WBC to be played.
Yeah.
But can you imagine how much further along the WBC would be if we had played in 2020, 2023, and now in 2026?
I agree with you. Having said that, but I'm going to be devil's advocate here. Yes, I agree with you. Imagine if we would have been able to have a WBC in 2020, in 3 years, as they wanted to do it. But I have to say, if the 2017 WBC had not happened, with all the drama that it brought, with all the highlight reels that it brought, with all the highlight plays, and I'm gonna say, United States, they went ahead and beat us in the final. We went 7-0, and we beat US, and then we lost in the final, and the US, which helped, raise the profile of it in the United States. Okay, fantastic. But I'm here to tell you, if had it not been for the 2017 WBC, the WBC wouldn't be what it was in 2023.
Oh no.
You see what I'm saying?
No.
I mean, it was.
And I mean, there's an aspect of that where it's like people were waiting for so long, so that 2023 felt like it was like.
I get it. Yeah.
So I still think that 2017 was definitely monumental, and then if we had a 2017, 2020. I think like if there wasn't a breakage in that the 4 year or whatever, I think that tournament, like the 2026 iteration, would be.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, COVID happened. That's something that.
And one thing we haven't talked about is what impacted change, right? Was what happened in 2013. What started happening in 2013. Yeah. 2013 was the first year where
the evolution of it. Yeah.
Where qualifiers were needed. So that 16-team thing went away. So what they did was they took the last four teams need to they were relegated and then qualify. So that opened world qualifiers, and now we have other teams.
I encourage you to the next iteration of WBC Classic, tune into those qualifier games because those countries are playing their heart out. Oh yeah, like I was watching a few. I didn't get a chance to watch all of them, but I was watching a few of them, and it's like the energy is like, these players really want it. I mean, and it's like also like Serie Caribe, it's like the same amount of energy, same thing. But I definitely think that the WBC took a big jump 2017, and I think 2023 did not disappoint either.
Oh, absolutely
big
not.
One.
Absolutely not.
And so, I think now we're ready to start talking about the 2026 iteration,
bro. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm telling you,
I'm excited. I mean,
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I'm excited
talking about WBC. But
that's what we do. That's what we have in this little podcast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when we went in 2023, we had the opportunity. It was the first time that we had the opportunity to actually go to games, and we stayed in Miami. We took that whole week off as a family. We got up at 5:00 in the morning. We were watching those
Tokyo
games and the games in Korea as well. Yeah, in the Korea. And then we will watch the Miami games. And then we were able to go and watch 2 games down there. It was, let me tell you, that was such an experience.
That was so cool. It brings chills. That first pitch, you can't explain that feeling. I mean, the second pitch of the Venezuela PR game was not.
Oh God, it wasn't.
All right, so yeah, we were talking about the Venezuela game and how the neck muscles were definitely working on that one, but I mean obviously it was still such a great experience. But it was such a great experience for.
There goes another one.
Berrio. Yeah, they said he was working on something. I don't know, but
yeah, he was working on pitching home runs.
Cookies.
No, but what I would never forget, about that Venezuela game was, so they bring a reliever. I forget his name.
Hector Santiago. Si él quiere estar aquí con nosotros, hablamos.
Okay. Hey, I would love to have it. As a matter of fact, he stopped the bleeding. In that game. But we were inside, Marlins Park, Lone Depot Park, and we were watching, you know that where they put you know how fast that pitch is going and what type of pitch it was. And every pitch that he was throwing, it was a changeup. It was an 80-something pool changeup. And then I turn to Diego and I say, changeup, my butt. I mean, those are fastballs. That's his fastball. He's not throwing all changeup. It's just fastball. But he stopped the bleeding.
Hey,
so,
listen,
thank you,
worked.
Santiago. Hey,
It
Hector,
worked.
thank you. Gracias, papi. Te agradezco.
It worked.
He stopped the bleeding, but the Israeli game, man. That was so cool, you know, to watch. It wasn't, you know, in the books a perfect game, but it was in my heart. It was a perfect game, you know. And when do you get that opportunity, right? And the fact is, what I really liked about watching that was, in both games actually, was the environment, right?
Definitely.
Oh my goodness, it was so cool to watch. You know, the enthusiasm, you know, from both teams. And even when we played against the Israeli team, there were a whole bunch of Jewish people, you know, and you know, over there.
For sure.
That you know that's not necessarily the number one game or whatever the case may be, but they were there. They were rooting for Israel as a team. There were a lot of MLBers and other, like Jock Peterson, you know, was the most known MLBer, you know, representing Israel. And it was so cool to watch. It was so cool to see, you know.
The turnout was a lot more than expected for like a game like that. That's one of like, you know, the top pools in in Puerto Rico contra, you know, Israel, which was, they weren't expected to move on, but like still the turnout was pretty cool and the energy was still there for sure. And but yeah, I mean, I think it's time for us to look into this 2026 iteration of the WBC.
I'm excited.
Dun. All right, so obviously last year, 2023.
Obviously, we haven't invested a lot in
editing,
in editing or
audio.
Or audio.
let a couple episodes happen. But anyways, Japan they won last year, 2023. They added their third championship of the WBC. DR has one, and the US has one. So. And I think also Venezuela, DRP are sneaky champions. You know, Japan's going to be the favorite.
Should be.
Japan's going to be the favorite. And then USA is going to come in second favorite. But I think, honestly, the Venezuela, DRP, they both have an equal shot at taking this home. I mean, we'll get into the DR, but you can build 4 lineups. It will be talent from
It's
DR.
incredible.
It's incredible. They have.
But it's been
talent
interesting
galore.
though.
But like when they gotten together, it's not like, I don't know if something doesn't gel. Their egos don't, like, I don't. Yeah. Maybe it's an ego thing. I don't know. But it's just.
It's been interesting because
they definitely have the most
it
talent.
hasn't happened.
They have the most talent.
They have the most talent. They just won it once, and honestly, I mean, if you, without any passion into it, you know, it should be a rotation in between United States, Japan, and Dominican Republic. If you were to just talk about talent wise, right? And then Puerto Rico having, and Venezuela being you know, the little ones, you know, over there trying to get, you know, and maybe have a seat at the table.
Well, that's a good thing about the WBC. Also, it's like it's a 2-week-long tournament.
Yeah, things can happen.
So it's like, you know, this guy from the Japan League can go off for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And win them the tournament.
No kidding.
Yeah. But speaking of that, let's look into the qualifiers for the 2026 tournament. I have the bracket pulled up right here. So there was 2 pools in the qualifiers, right? Same thing kind of in the WBC. The top 2 teams from each pool qualified into the WBC. And so Pool A consisted of Nicaragua, Chinese Taipei, which is Taiwan, Spain, and South Africa. Right.
And Chinese Taipei was the home team. That's where the play.
Yes.
That's where the games were being played at. You know, at Chinese Taipei for that pool.
And that Pool B consisted of Colombia, Brazil, Germany, and China.
Yeah, and those games were played in Tucson,
Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah. It was right around the time of spring training when those things were getting played. Late February, early March. And really, the number 1 seeds for both pools really took it away. I mean, Nicaragua killed. They had a perfect ranking of a perfect record of 3 wins and 0 losses, They had by far the best run differential. And Colombia really, and Pool B, Colombia really.
They raked.
They killed.
They
killed. I mean, they had 23 runs, and they only allowed one run.
One run
in 3 games. One run.
One run, and they won. They won going away. So
going away.
They went undefeated.
Undefeated.
Again, a very dangerous team.
We'll get into that.
Very dangerous team.
Very dangerous.
And something to consider. When we look at the different pools and the strength of the pools.
Definitely, I would look out for Team Colombia coming up in this 2026 team. They can definitely make some noise and take off some top dogs for sure.
Well, I mean, in the past,
they saw 2023. They played USA tough.
They tough. They took them to extra innings. I think. I think they took Dominican Republic to extra innings too. So it's not like they pushovers, right?
No, they're tough.
And every year they're getting better. And they have a lot of talent in the MLB.
Obviously, Miggy retired.
Miggy's Venezuela. But they have some people. They have some pitchers that have just confirmed that they're going to be part of the WBC team. That's gonna make him very tough. And we'll talk about the pools in a little bit. How they got spread out. But these 4 teams that actually passed, that made it: Nicaragua, Chinese Taipei, Colombia, and Brazil. They were then, they were the last 4 qualifiers, and they were spread out into the different pools. Mm-hmm.
Before the 4 teams were set, the pools were set. The only things that were not set was the
where the qualifiers would go.
Qualifier teams. So basically the 2 teams that made on each pool got not randomly placed. I think they have some sort of formula or whatever that they placed each team in each pool. But Brazil took second place in Pool B. They also had a good tournament. They had 27 runs and they only allowed 18 of them. So they're good. Their run differential. They went 3-1. Brazil's another one that I know the Bichette brothers, Dante and Bo, will be playing. They committed to the tournament, so that's another one. They have MLB talent. It's cool to see. Brazil in it. They haven't been in it for a while. They only had one tournament. They only played in one.
The second appearance.
Their second appearance.
Yeah. But the game is definitely growing in Brazil, and having MLBers like that are willing to come in and represent. That's gonna make a big difference. Yeah. That's gonna make a big difference, in the actual country, and the presence, and the popularity of the game. It's been growing. Brazil is one of those countries that's really has benefited in terms of their love for baseball since the WBC started. Back in the day, there was no baseball, and now look at them. They're part of the WBC. And making it to the final pool, so that's something that for the second time. Yeah. Very interesting to see.
A second place spot in the Pool A was taken by Chinese Taipei. Always have a solid squad. Chinese Taipei always have a solid squad.
Maybe not this year. Maybe not this year.
Always make an appearance
but they love baseball.
They love baseball.
They love baseball there
for sure. And I think they overtaken definitely their counterpart China in the baseball department because they stunk up the field. Only scoring 5 runs and allowing 32.
But China has never been a strong. They're developing baseball now. Chinese Taipei.
They made it last time.
Chinese Taipei has always had strong baseball background. Not China itself. They certainly excelled elsewhere, but baseball is something, quote unquote, new to them. Yeah. But Chinese Taipei has always had a big interest. It's like Korea, and certainly Japan.
But definitely qualifying, that's a big ups to them. It's a big opportunity for them. Now, success-wise in WBC, qualifiers haven't fared well much. I mean, the only thing you can look at in 2017, the only qualifier team to ever make it out was Team Israel in 2017. They went 3-0 in pool play. And that was the only qualifier to ever make it out of the pool play rounds. But, I mean, but you look, there's a bunch of storylines, and the qualifier teams always
Yeah.
get, like I told you about Nicaragua, there's always the guy that got a contract and everything. Also, Team Czech Republic last year,
Oh,
team
man, that
bunch
was
of
so
bunch of
cool.
plumbers and doctors and other blue collar workers.
That was so cool.
got
And they're
there.
back.
And they
They're back
gotta
in
win.
it.
They gotta win. They gotta
They-
win.
and so they didn't have to
They
qualify.
didn't have to qualify.
They didn't have to qualify. That was so cool.
Yeah.
That was so cool. That's what I love.
For sure.
Those were things that were so different about the
Mm-hmm.
World Baseball Classic, right? Like for instance, if you were to compare that to a World Cup or whatever, you're not gonna have no dentist, no doctor, no engineer, no
That's-
whatever.
it's
You know,
just straight
making
heart.
no team.
They're
you
just
know,
straight heart.
yeah, straight heart.
Straight
You know,
heart.
no, that's not what gonna have it. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
That speaks to what the WBC is about. You know, what should be about, which is truly growing the game and growing our interest in it, and putting emphasis behind it. But that was a great story from the 2023, one that Great Britain won too.
Yeah.
I mean, that team.
Except for the uniforms.
Whoa, bro,
Yeah.
their uniforms. It's like somebody
Yeah.
called, hey, do you have a credit card? Hey, we have a tournament start tomorrow, well, so Great Britain, with their uniforms. Oh my goodness. It's
Yeah,
like
it was-
somebody say, hey, do you got a credit card?
But that's not even. What do
You got a credit card? Hey, we have a tournament tomorrow, today,
That is
Hey,
not how the
can you
people of Great Britain
can you
sound
put
like.
great and Britain over here on the
That is
uniform?
not.
We
That
need
is
30
not-
people, managers, the players, Great
is
Britain. What fun do you want? Doesn't matter, Ariel, whatever,
We'll put a picture of the.
Oh
team
my
for-
God,
for
those
who are-
uniforms
for those who are watching on YouTube.
sucked. And that should be
Oh, yeah.
that should be another episode, upcoming. the uniforms and the hats, because I'm telling you, there were
No,
some.
we should. Yeah, that's definitely upcoming. We got to review all the hats and uniforms.
Yeah, there
coming
were
up.
some nice hats, and there
were.
were some nice uniforms, and there were some terrible uniforms.
So let's go
Great
over.
Britain, I'm looking at you.
We're gonna go over the pools. We're gonna put up a little graphic for you to, if you're watching us, to so you have a visual. But let's go through Pool A, which can be played in San Juan and in Puerto Rico, and we're gonna have Pool A. Well, obviously, it's gonna be Puerto Rico hosting that pool. Cuba, Canada, Panama, and Colombia. Right, that's gonna be in San Juan. We go to Pool B. That's gonna be played in Houston. First time Houston's gonna host a pool play.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be USA, Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil. So we got.
Britain, I'm looking at you. You better bring better uniforms.
He's got like a vendetta on Great
Oh
Britain.
my goodness, that was embarrassing.
It was.
Anyhow.
It was freaking bad. Their hat wasn't that bad. Okay, but anyways.
Come on, that was stupid. Okay, whatever. Yeah.
But Pool A and Pool B, they both go to Houston for the quarterfinals, which is one game. But so Pool A and Pool B definitely they funnel into Houston for the quarterfinals, and then we go to the other side of the bracket. We got Pool C, which is played in Tokyo. There's always a pool play in Tokyo Dome. You got to have Tokyo Dome in it.
Yeah, for sure.
You got obviously Japan hosting it, Australia, Korea, Czech Republic, and Chinese Taipei. So those are the 5 teams that play in Tokyo. And then you got Pool D, which is in Miami, as it was last year. So Pool C, Pool D really didn't change where the host sites were based. But Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Netherlands, Israel, Nicaragua. So that's a tough bracket right there. But that's gonna be played in Miami, and those 2 teams funnel in for the quarterfinals in Miami. Right, and they stay in Miami for the rest of the tournament so the semifinals are in Miami and championships in Miami. So
I think that's a big advantage.
if you stay there the whole time,
I think that's a big
That's
advantage.
definitely.
I think that's a big advantage. If you're in Pool D has a great advantage, right? They don't have to travel. They don't have to go anywhere. I mean, for instance, if you're Pool A, you have to go from your host side, which is San Juan, then go over there and play a one game playoff, right? And win or lose, that's the quarterfinals, and you move on to the semifinals, right?
Yep.
In the semifinals and the championship are played in actually Miami.
Miami.
So, for instance, Pool A has to go from San Juan to Houston to play a one game, and then travel from Houston to Miami, right? Pool C has to win and then go to Miami to play a quarterfinal, right, against Pool D. Pool D never moves. So the two teams that come out of Pool D have a big advantage, in my opinion.
Definitely.
I think that's something that cannot be overstated.
I didn't think about that, but for sure. I mean,
cannot be overstated. So whoever comes out of
you gotta look. I mean, Pool C is tough too. You got coming from Tokyo. I mean, that's like.
Well, but Pool C is.
We'll talk about it.
Come on, Pool C is a joke.
We're not. Okay. Stay on the
Pool
program.
C is a joke.
Stay on the program.
I mean,
Mr.
Sorry.
Great Britain with the Mexican accent.
Bro, I don't. Hey, that's exactly what happened. They called Mexico. They called Mexican.
They were in Arizona, man. The Phoenix. Hey,
bro, oye, mira, papi, órale, que necesito un uniforme, que Great Britain, ponle aquí, como sea, ahí, que pero necesito para mañana, I need it for tomorrow. Bro, that was so embarrassing, I'm telling you. Do you have a Kreka? That was so embarrassing. Kreka, anyone? Kreka? Okay. That was so embarrassing.
All right.
Embarrassing. Come on.
Okay.
Anywho.
Next thing on our agenda. I want to ask you from pool to pool. I'm gonna answer two. Who are the weakest teams in each of the pools? And we'll start at Pool A, which is gonna be playing in San Juan. Let's go over those teams one more time. It's gonna be Puerto Rico, Cuba, Canada, Panama, and Colombia.
That's a good question. I thought long and hard about that one. And I'm telling you, the qualifying team that came to Pool A was Colombia. Colombia is not the weakest team in that pool. I think Panama is.
And I agree with you.
I think Panama is the weakest team on that pool.
And I think Colombia has more MLB talent.
Oh, Colombia's going to have more MLB talent, and Colombia's fired up.
I think the last time Panama had a good showing, but they had Christian Bethancourt from the Rays, but he's not doing much of anything right now.
Yeah. But
again?
No, it's okay. We're good. We'll back.
But I think
Go ahead.
But I think Colombia. What was I saying? I think Panama it's gonna be the weakest link. And I think Colombia is fired up. I think their MLB players are fired up. They want to participate. I think they're gonna be part of it. For sure.
You see, talk about Colombia. We'll talk about Colombia. Well, next episode is gonna be more in depth of each team. But you see, for Colombia, Jose Quintana. Committed, which right now he's killing it for the Brewers. He just got signed like a month ago, and he's killing it right now. So there's MLB talent. I think definitely Panama is the weakest link. Yeah. But honestly, I don't think Panama's gonna be a bad team. It's just I think they just get out talented from the other teams.
I think they're gonna get out talented. I mean,
so
for sure.
Let's move into Pool B, which is gonna be played in Houston. That's gonna be that USA pool, which is gonna be USA, Mexico,
Italy, Great Britain, and
Brazil. Yeah. So
who do you think is the weakest link over there?
I think it's Great Britain. I mean, especially with the news from Brazil, with Bo and both the Bichette brothers playing. I think that alone. I don't think Great Britain. I'm surprised they didn't have to qualify, but I don't think Great Britain really stands a chance.
I agree too. I mean that's why.
It's a great story. Again, they were a big qualifier in 2023, where like nobody expected them.
No, yeah, I get it.
But I don't really see. I think Brazil is coming with They haven't sniffed the WBC in a while. They're coming with like a sense of urgency, and I think they overall have more talent than Great Britain.
I think so too. I agree with you. I think Great Britain is the weakest link there as well. I don't think it's a qualifier, which is interesting, right? You expect the qualifiers to be the weakest links. That is not the case this time around.
That's a beautiful thing about the WBC.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think Great Britain is the weakest team in Pool B as well.
Yeah.
So in Pool C, tell me, Pool C, Pool C is Japan, Australia, Korea, Czech Republic, and Chinese Taipei. Let me tell you, well, whatever. Japan, you got it made, bro. I mean, come on. This is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. So.
Yeah, but I definitely think that.
Who's the weakest link there?
I hate to say it. It's a great story. I love the story, but I gotta say Czech Republic is the weakest link. They really don't have any. I mean, honestly, there is talks about. I forget who it was, but there's an MLB pitcher that's as Czech Republic ancestry that can play for the team. But
this is gonna be the first one where I disagree with you.
You don't think Czech?
I don't think it's Czech Republic, and I'll tell you why. I think it's Chinese Taipei. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why, Diego.
I disagree, bro.
They went They were the home team. Oh shoot, they were the home team
They had a pool,
in the
right?
qualifying tournament. They were the home team in the qualifying tournament. Okay, and they went 2-2 in the qualifying tournament, being the home team.
Mm-hmm.
When you are the home team and you go 2-2, you have to suck. I mean, come on, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is terrible. They, you know, they scored 20 runs.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed 22.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you, my friend, Nicaragua, who was a weak team, you know, in the previous WBC, right? They scored 10 and allowed only 2, right? And they were undefeated. Chinese Taipei, you know, they went 2-2 and they scored 20 and they allowed 22. I mean, come on.
I still think that
This
with
this team
you know,
is trash. I mean, I that team is trash.
Yeah.
Which you know makes that whole Pool C trash.
But I love Czech.
Whatever.
I hope they prove me wrong. But I just don't think.
Okay, so you think it's Czech?
It's Czech.
I got it.
But going
I
to
get
Pool
it.
D, which is looking like another pool of death, to be honest. This pool is stacked.
That pool is stacked.
Honestly, I don't want to pick this either because I think they're gonna have a solid team, but Nicaragua is the weakest link in this pool. But I think they're still a solid, very solid. I mean, they killed. They really didn't score that many runs, but they didn't allow any.
Yeah.
But Nicaragua is another good qualifier team that can really upset some teams. But
Yeah.
I just don't think it's gonna happen. They're gonna have to get relegated again. But
In that
They got
the
the-
pool, I think this. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit, but I think we agree this is the pool of death, right?
definitely.
This,
Again,
this
like
definitely
as it
pool of
was
death.
in 2023.
When you have
Miami Group.
Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Netherlands, Israel, and Nicaragua, I mean, those, honestly, out of those 5 teams, 3 or 4 of those could surprise. You have a Netherlands team that could certainly beat anyone in that
for
pool. You have an Israel team that I think is going to be stronger this time around, than they were the time before. You have a Nicaragua team that's full of young kids, and
Yeah,
that's
young.
up and
It's def-
coming.
it's
So,
definitely a young
so
team.
I don't think that I agree with you. I think that they are the weakest team,
I think they got a bad
but
draw for
they've
sure.
had a bad draw. They had a bad draw.
draw.
Oh my goodness! So I agree that Nicaragua is, but if Nicaragua were for instance, in Pool C.
We'll see.
think
I mean,
they,
that's
they
the
could
beauty.
make they're not gonna be Japan,
Yeah.
but they could make noise. You
That's the
see?
beauty of WBC. We could be wrong in all
I know.
4 of these.
I
You
get
just-
it.
You,
No, I
you
get
don't
it.
know.
For sure.
But yeah, I think the next thing in the agenda is to talk about the top 2 teams in every pool, in your opinion. Let's start with Pool A. Now, I'm gonna say this. Pool A is the most evenly distributed pool, I think.
Okay, that's an interesting look at it. Yeah.
In my opinion, maybe we're being biased, but I think clear-cut favorite in this pool is definitely gonna be Puerto Rico, just based off talent-wise. But I think 2 through 5, Bobby, like any of them could really pass. It just depending on the day. Because
I think if you take away, I agree with you, except if you take Panama is really truly the weakest one,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I think it's a 4. It could be anyone. Honestly, it could be anyone from those 4 teams that could surprise and make it. Again, I go back to Colombia. Colombia is going to be stacked. Colombia is up and coming. Colombia is getting a lot of commitments. Colombia has been getting. Colombia has been getting better, and I'm telling you, I was really mad when I saw that Colombia was put in Pool A. Like, what? Why don't you put Colombia in Pool C to make it a little stronger,
Yeah.
right? I was like, dang, because this, I Pool D is the strongest. I mean, and we'll talk about it, but Pool A, it's second best, and I agree. I had not considered it in the way you're considering it. But I think you're right. It's the most evenly distributed, pool. And truly, if any one of those teams qualifies, nobody will be surprised necessarily, right? Now, if Puerto Rico doesn't make it, people might be surprised.
Yeah.
maybe if Canada doesn't make it, people are gonna be surprised. You know,
Yeah,
you have
Canada always has
a
a
Freddie
solid
Freeman,
team.
they have a solid team, but that's a very dangerous, very
Sure.
evenly matched pool. I agree with
Yeah.
that. I agree with you.
So I think our first PR, that's
Okay.
We have
Yeah.
the top two. My second, es los cubanos. Los cubanos de Hialeah de Miami, brother. Hacer it. Yo creo que los cubanos van a pasar. Just because I think they have the most MLB talent out of all of them. I mean, if everyone is committed to play, you have Luis Robel, you have Yohan Moncada, you got a bunch of other players that can play.
Yeah, I don't know how many of those are gonna commit, to play for
Yeah.
Cuba.
Well, Luis
because of the-
Robel played last year. I mean,
Yeah.
we got Eloy, he really took a step back. He's playing for he's AAA
Mhm.
affiliate for Tampa Bay Rays. But I just think that Cuba went to semifinals. Whether it was they took the Tokyo route, so it was a little easier way, but they made it to the semis. But they've been there. They've done that. They've always been in contention. I don't think that stops here. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the boring take and go PR in Cuba.
I don't think that's a boring take. I mean, actually, my take is Puerto Rico and Canada. I mean, I think Canada is you have a Freddie Freeman. You cannot, understate his importance. And how much fear he can put into a team.
You got Tyler O'Neill from the
Oh
the
yeah.
outfielder that's like the freaking jack dude that hits bombs and runs too.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of talent that that's another one. Canada's also growing in that baseball aspect. They always have a solid team.
I think Canada is going to be a solid team, and I think I truly believe that those two are the ones that are going to come out of there.
Mhm.
But then again, this is the toughest pool to predict.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's going to come out of hopefully besides Puerto Rico. I think Puerto Rico is number one, a clear number one. Hopefully, right? But I think Canada should be second. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if Colombia made it. It wouldn't surprise me if Cuba made it. I would be surprised if Panama made it.
Yeah.
But that truly is the long and the short of it.
So let's go to the strongest pool in the WBC. Talking about Pool C.
Okay, so you're jumping Pool B. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow,
we'll
wow.
talk about Pool C.
Wait,
That's fine.
espérate.
We go back
Pool-
to Pool
wow.
B.
That's on me. Hand
Pool
up,
B.
Hand up. We're talking about Pool B.
Hey,
Played in Houston.
Hey, have a day. You know we like you, bro.
Pool B, which can be played in Houston, Texas. I think, unfortunately, the U.S. is the favorite here. It's not close. And I think, I'll have another hot take about this team, but I think Mexico moves on as well. But I don't think it's that easy of a road for Mexico. But
Okay.
I think U.S. and Mexico are the two best teams in that pool.
I don't disagree. I think
this
that's
pool's another one that's like
that pool is.
honestly, I think Italy can surprise a lot of people if they have the commitments that they have a lot of players of Italian descent.
I get it,
But,
it's top heavy. This pool is top heavy.
For sure.
Not as bad as Japan's, not as bad as Pool C's, but come on, Pool B is top heavy. I think United States and Mexico should be the favorites, to come out of it. And one thing that we forget is besides the MLBers that are in MLB currently, and the farm systems, Mexico has grown their baseball tremendously to now they're arguably the third league in the world.
Oh, yeah.
MLB, Japan, and Mexico. I wouldn't be I don't. There's a lot of talent down there. There's a lot of people that are getting a lot of opportunities, and I truly think. I think United States and Mexico are the clear, top two in this. I would be surprised personally if any of the other teams, would have a chance of making it out of there. I think
you're underestimating.
I think Pool B it's very top heavy in my opinion. Pool B is very top heavy. That would be cool to see.
Italy can.
That would be cool to see.
Yeah.
To add that that intrigue and more people to the mix, right? But that would be cool. But I think this is very top heavy.
Now we're trying to skip, but we're going to the best pool, with the best 5 teams. Pool C.
Bro, come
Pito's
on.
favorite pool.
Come on, this is a joke. This is a joke. If you're listening to me, Japan, I don't know how to say in Japanese, but translate it. Japan, you have a cakewalk. I mean, come on, this is a gift. What are you talking about? You have Australia, you have Korea, you have.
Let me tell you something.
You have the professors, Czech Republic, and you have Chinese Taipei that barely made it out when they were hosting the. Come on, this is a joke. This is a joke. Okay, so the top team is Japan, and they're the favorites to win it all over again. Okay, and then what? Who's number 2? I don't even know who number 2 is.
I think Korea can make a statement on this tournament.
Listen, last in 2023 they sucked. Okay. They sucked.
I think they're coming back with more firepower. They have
with what firepower?
Hassan came with the Senbei race. He was a big signing of free agency. Never spent any money, but we're not talking about that. But also the KBO is also a great league. It's another one that Korean baseball league is another great league. And I was in between Japan or Korea and Australia.
That's me too.
But
Korea's Australia.
I think the Korean baseball league is a little better than the Australian. I mean, a lot better than Australian baseball league. So I think that's what comes down to it. I think the league's a little better. So the talent I think is going to come out with a little better. So I'm going to go Japan and Korea.
I mean, it's a flip flop. I have Japan certainly, and then Korea, and then Australia. So who knows what's going to happen? But I'm just disappointed in that pool. I just wish they would have put one, a better make it a better pool by putting a harder qualifier over there. I understand Chinese Taipei, it's closer, whatever. Geographically,
but I don't think that's an issue because I remember Cuba was in Tokyo.
Well, that's but that's because they didn't want to leave and defect in the United States. That's why. Now, gets what's going to happen when they're in Puerto Rico. So let's see what happens, right?
But yeah.
In Pool D. Now talk about Pool D. That's the group of death, right? That's the group of death, right? Who are the top 2? Who are the top 2? This is a topic of conversation, right? Dominican Republic. I mean, you and I are going to say that.
I don't think it is.
What?
The top 2?
The Dominican Republic?
No, for sure. I mean, I think that it's. I mean, the top 2 are clear in this one.
You think? Oh, okay.
But
I'm okay. I'm curious.
I think top 2 are very clear in this pool. But I think also the 3 through 5's also another one that can go and grab and steal a game from Venezuela or DR.
For sure.
Netherlands, Israel. They always have Netherlands, Israel. They always have a good team. Israel could get a lot better if players like Max Fried play, Alex Bregman play. They have a lot of talent that could play for Team Israel. But I think definitely that it's pretty clear who the top 2 teams were. Venezuela killed last time in 2023. They had a great showing. DR, I think it's going to come back with an even better team than last year. And also, I'm glad that Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic on the other side of the brackets, because I would like to see that matchup in the later stages. But no, I think Venezuela and Dominican Republic are top 2 teams.
Really, you think so? You think so? Okay.
I
I don't disagree that Venezuela and DR should be 1 and 2.
The captain of that Netherlands team has always been Xander, and Xander's really taking a step back.
Yeah.
He's looking a lot older. So I don't think. I mean,
and
you still got Ozzy Albies, but
And you got Profar that got
I don't know.
He got caught.
I never know.
He got caught. So, but I mean, I think you're right. I don't disagree that the Dominican Republic and Venezuela should be the 1 and 2 teams over there.
But we're flip. I mean, 1 and 2, we're not ranking.
No. I mean, the top 2, But I think Netherlands could be a 2B, or a 2C. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Now to just into the weakest and toughest pools.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have different opinions of this.
Okay.
My weakest, I put Pool B. Let me tell you why I put Pool B.
Okay.
I think it's very top heavy. Very top heavy. You have U.S. and Mexico, and I agree with you there. And I think Mexico could really see a regression. I mean, you got Verdugo. He just got called up. He signed a minor league deal. He's not the same Verdugo as usual. You got Randy slumping. Randy slumping, but that's also a player. Randy can turn it on like that. I mean, that's also a player. But But they do have Jarren Duran, which is he's a young guy from the Red Sox, is really killing it. But I just think that they could see a regression. They don't have Julio Urias for reasons. But
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you.
Definitely see a regression.
I don't disagree with you, but I have
and I
to
think
say
that Italy has a lot of potential. You got Brandon Nimmo from the Mets. Shout out draft like Mark, the Mets guy. Anthony Rizzo, Vinny Pasquantino.
So that makes
Anthony
it. So that makes it a weak team, a weak group. Will be when you compare to Pool C, bro. Pool C is a joke.
And Brazil's only played 3 WC games and they've lost
Pool
all
C
3 of them.
is a joke. You have Japan, boom. Japan, boom, and then you have Australia, and then you have Korea, and then you have teacher, second grade teacher, showing up. Come on, bro. And then Chinese that barely won any games.
Oh, yeah,
hosting the qualifier.
you're hating on Chinese.
I'm hating because they need to be hated. Pool C is a joke. Pool C is a joke. MLB, whoever put it, you made a mistake. You should have put a stronger qualifier over there to make this a little more sense. This is a cakewalk for Japan, and if they let any one of these teams score a run on them, shame on them. Shame on them. I'm looking at you, Shohei Ohtani. I'm looking at you, Japan. This will be embarrassing if you allow any of these teams to allow them to run and score to score a run on you. Come on.
Safe to say,
be better.
Differing opinions on the weakest pools.
Pool C. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
I think the strongest, I think we both can say, is going to be Pool D. Pool D.
Pool D.
I mean, DR, you can make 3 lineups from elite MLB talent, and they have the pitching to back it up as well.
Yeah, Pool D.
Venezuela always brings a lot of MLB talent. You got Altuve, Acuna, Salvi.
Yeah. Pool D has 3 great teams.
Netherlands, you got
3 great teams and 2 that are up and coming that could really, could steal a game from either of those teams. So, honestly, Pool D is by far. Pool A will be the second one for me.
I think
honestly.
So, for sure.
I mean, Pool E, you have 2 great teams, and we may differ. I think it's United States and Canada. I mean, Puerto Rico and Canada. They're the 2 best teams in Pool A. But Colombia is certainly a dark horse that could be, honestly, I hope it doesn't happen, but it could be any of those teams.
For sure. And I want to ask you a question, because we've seen this progression, as we talked about earlier, of the WBC. One thing that's a lot of Americans don't see the WBC for what we see it as. You know, they don't see it, and a lot of they say it's during spring training. People can get hurt. They're playing an expedition tournament, and one thing I want to ask to you is why do you think the Americans have such a different mindset towards the WBC versus the rest of the world?
No, I think it has to do with how United States and the rest of the world view athletic competitions and competitions in general, right? I mean, again, and I know we're getting to the end of our podcast, but the United States sees competitions as the Olympics as they expect to win, and when they win bronze or silver, they're a little disappointed. Okay, a little disappointed. When it comes to the rest of the world, it truly is a highlight. It's a community event. It's something that rallies people together, right? Rallies a country together, and even if we don't win bronze, we ended up with a 4th place. We celebrate it, or we win a bronze medal. We celebrate it. We win a gold. Never mind, right? But it's a different story. It's like when we go watch games, in the WBC, or we go watch games with my daughter, playing softball in Puerto Rico. How are the environments?
No, for sure, it's different.
It's like a party. Every pitch, every hit, it's a party. When you come over here, it's more, hey, good job.
Let's go, Connor.
Good job, Connor. Yeah, go, Coop. It's a little different. It's not a little. It's a lot of different, right?
Yeah.
So the environments are very different, and that's why you see Latino players, react different, and then you hear commentators, oh, you don't do that in this game. But if you go to Japan, even in Japan, which is such a button-up culture, when it comes to the games, how they celebrate, they're making noise, they're celebrating every pitch, every hit. It's so different across the world than it is, and that's one thing that brings a highlight to the world, on that. And it's really cool to see.
Another point I want to bring to you is that the U.S. has its World Series.
Yeah.
Other nations, that's it. The WBC that's their World Series.
For sure.
I mean, so that's why you got people, honestly, they pay with their heart on their sleeve trying to win for their country. And you got people trying to get contracts out of this tournament. You just got people looking at this tournament as a do or die situation.
For sure.
I think that's how the U.S. in 2026 now has to look at that. Because the world's catching up.
Oh, for sure.
The world's catching up. We saw Japan win this last one. But the world's catching up. And I think Team USA needs to definitely use that same mindset of do or die, because it's a big tournament.
Yeah.
Big significance. I mean, again, I'm gonna revert to that last out for the final. You cannot
script it any better. You cannot script it any
Teammates.
better. That was
Shohei Ohtani pitching.
Mike Trout. That was so cool. I mean, how cool was that?
The best Japanese player versus arguably the best player. Definitely of my generation.
Yeah.
Mike Trout.
How cool was that, right? How cool was that?
But yeah, I hope. Yeah, but
I'm excited. I'm excited for what's coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Episode 2, we're gonna start going to the different pools. We're gonna start with Pool A and have a deep dive into the different pools.
Team, yeah.
And I'm excited to be here.
So each episode's gonna be a pool. So second episode's gonna be Pool A. We're gonna deep dive into the teams of Pool A.
Yeah.
And also you can expect new episodes every Sunday.
Yeah. So thank you to our sponsor, Florida Fab Fam, FL Fab Fam, on Etsy. If you have any needs when it comes to athletic equipment, personalized equipment, headbands, pitching towels, throwing, you name it, go uniforms, jerseys, shirts, go check it out. They can make your dream happen. And she has tremendous ratings on Etsy, top 9% of sellers in Etsy, and FL Fat Fam for all your needs. Thank you for their sponsorship here.
And use code BWB for 10% off your order. So there's a little discount code for us.
Yeah.
And we're signing off now.
Ball without borders, baby. Thank you.
One in the books. See ya.